Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Today is Wednesday, April 16th. Thanks, everyone, for getting us going. Appreciate signing in and getting ready to go. Do we have anyone in attendance for our public comment period?
No, sir, we do not.
Seeing no one in attendance for our public comment period, I'd like to move on to review and approval of the March 2025 minutes. Do we have any questions from the 2025 minutes from March? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
To approve. Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Our motion passes. Thank you so much, everyone, for reviewing those in advance and helping us get a good start to things. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, who I understand is joining us remotely. Nicole Smith, thank you for spending time with us this evening. I'm going to mute myself, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Let Sally pull up the presentation.
All right. Can you see it?
I'm all set. Thank you so much.
Great.
So thank you for the opportunity to showcase the city's strategic plan. I look forward to sharing the plan's development process, outlining its composition, highlighting initiatives that may necessitate collaboration with this committee, as well as presenting our implementation strategy. Next slide, please. Plan development included significant engagement with versatile perspectives. Staff interviewed elected officials, hosted retreats with our leadership team, held focus groups with staff across departments, and provided community stakeholder engagements both in person and through a biennial community survey. Additionally, we benchmarked strategic plans across the country and integrated best practices into a draft document. The document was then shared with City Council and the public through the process at various work sessions and agenda briefings. Ultimately, the plan was adopted by City Council in February of 2024. Next slide.
It's just taking me a second here, Nicole. Sorry. There we go.
A brief reminder, the intent of a strategic planning document is to establish a common set of goals and provide stability and opportunity for those who live, work, and build their businesses here in Wilmington. Next slide. The plan encompasses 5 key focus areas, 4 of which are directed outward, including housing and neighborhoods, transportation and infrastructure, economic development and culture, and safe, healthy, and engaged community. The 5th area, while internally oriented, significantly influences service delivery and is categorized as organizational excellence. Under each key focus area are 3 objectives, outlining what we aspire to accomplish. Under each objective are 3 initiatives sharing what specific activities are required to advance the strategy. The final piece of the strategic plan is performance measures outlining how to determine successful execution. These outcomes are currently under development. Next slide. The 5 key focus areas shown on your screen have been identified as the community's priorities for the next 5 years. They are derived from extensive collaboration, including the previously mentioned council interviews, biennial community survey, and input from staff. These focus areas also demonstrate alignment with other integral city guiding documents, including the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan, adopted in 2016, and the Comprehensive Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, adopted in 2022. This screen also elaborates on the intent statement for each key focus area. Next slide. Displayed on your screen are the objectives and initiatives pertaining to the focus area of fostering a vibrant, inclusive, and affordable community of neighborhoods. The objectives marked in blue represent the priorities set for the upcoming year. Keep in mind the planning horizon is 5 years. Next, I will outline the direct connections between the city strategic plan and the support actions of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Next slide. Under the Create a Thriving, Inclusive, and Affordable Community of Neighborhoods focus area is Objective 2, which aims to connect existing and future residents to the places where people live, work, and play. Specifically, Initiative 2.3 suggests connecting communities with pathway facilities that promote open space and community activities advance this strategy. I'll share that I listened to your March meeting where you participated in a Code of Armor strategic planning exercise. Many of your motivations for serving on this committee are centered around promoting green space, enhancing youth programming, and advocating for interconnectivity. This aligns closely with the community-driven priority on your screen. Next slide. Under the same focus area is Objective 3, outlining the need to utilize public engagement strategies to better align city services with the community's priorities across all neighborhoods. The objective of Initiative 3.1 is to create a public engagement program aimed at educating neighborhoods about the services currently offered by the city, while also collecting feedback on potential enhancements. Reflecting on your March exercise, many participants expressed a desire to understand how to better assist city residents, contribute positively to the community, and boost participation in parks and recreation activities. Next slide. The final aspect related to the housing and neighborhood focus area I want to highlight is Initiative 3.3, defining ways to support the implementation of the goals identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It is evident that this initiative is pertinent to the committee's work. Next slide. The objectives and initiatives related to fostering a safe, healthy, and engaged community are displayed on your screen. Following the same format as before, the items highlighted in blue represent the key priorities for this initial year. Next slide. Under the focus area, Create a Safe, Healthy, and Engaged Community is Initiative 3.3, outlining that partnering across city departments, nonprofit organizations, and the community at large to provide young people with opportunities for growth and development is a measure to improve quality of life. Next slide. The objectives and initiatives concerning economic development and cultural vibrancy are presented on your screen. Next slide. The economic development and cultural focus area highlights Initiative 3.1, the need to assess the preliminary recommendations from the Wilmington Convention and Visitor Bureau's commissioned Riverwalk assessment and develop a multi-year improvement plan as an opportunity to enhance and grow Wilmington's position as a nationally recognized entertainment, cultural, and tourism destination. This study emphasizes numerous advantages that the Riverwalk contributes to our local economy, such as the seating enhancements along the pathway, balcony seating with views of the Riverwalk, informative signage, and an overall vibrant atmosphere. Additionally, it identifies areas for enhancement, including the installation of a crosswalk at the northern end to ensure pedestrian safety, the addition of tables or flat surfaces for convenience while utilizing the existing stools, improved signage, and the introduction of live music or other family-friendly activities to attract more visitors. Furthermore, it suggests the need for consistency among private retailers and tour guides to enhance the overall experience. Next slide. Initiatives 3.2 and 3.3 within that same focus area emphasize the necessity of conducting and executing further studies related to parks facilities. Next slide. The objectives and initiatives related to transportation and infrastructure are presented on your screen. Next slide. The transportation and infrastructure focus area establishes the need to develop an efficient, accessible, and sustainable multimodal transportation network and city infrastructure. Two initiatives to advance this strategy include improving access to alternative modes of transportation and coordination and planning for future growth through implementing the Walk Wilmington and Greenway Master Plan. Next slide. The plan governance is inclusive of City Council, the City Manager, Deputy City Managers, department leadership, and our employees. Next slide. City Council is at the helm of our governance. Their role is to review the annual reports and semi-annual check-in data, to approve changes to resource allocations, which may come in the form of service changes, pilot programming, and resource allocations. Lastly, we made a promise to the community that this document would be living and breathing. As a result of this promise, we anticipate bringing forward changes to the plan to ensure that they established priorities remain reflective of the needs and desires of our community. Next slide. The STAT team incorporates all levels of our plan governance, including the city manager. It is an opportunity to share the work that is being conducted across the organization to advance each of our strategies. Discussion on data-based recommendations, as well as celebrate wins and work through any challenges that may arise. Next slide. Our core teams are led by deputy city managers and staffed by directors and assistant directors. They are charged with prioritizing initiatives and oversight of our objective teams and strategy progression. They are currently working through solidifying our community metrics. Next slide. Our objective teams are cross-departmental in nature and encompass a variety of experience and expertise. These teams are responsible for environmental scans, benchmarking, stakeholder coordination, as well as the introduction of innovative solutions. Next slide. The data owners are also cross-departmental and inclusive of a variety of experience and expertise. These members are responsible for reporting on community outcomes, highlighting patterns and potential anomalies. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
How many deputy city managers are there? I'm just curious.
There are 3 deputies.
Let's tone.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nicole, while everyone thinks of questions, I just want to say how much I appreciate the level of depth and professionalism you brought to this presentation and sharing the information, allowing us to follow along both visually and verbally. Although I have no weight when I say this, it was an excellent job and truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know it's a lot of information, so if you want to peruse the brochure that we've made available, I'm always available to answer any questions or to assist as you work through establishing the priorities of the committee.
Any questions for Nicole? Nicole, I think you're off the hook. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye, Nicole.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Miss Amy, would you like to keep us rolling?
I will roll into the departmental business plan, but before I do that, I will make a comment on the strategic business plan. Nicole and the deputy city managers have done a really good job in operationalizing the plan. Sally and I are both on one of the core teams. She's on one, I'm on another one. And we meet monthly and we're getting things accomplished, and the objective teams are getting rolling and putting their business plans together. So it's not sitting on a shelf, which is really good. So Sally, are you gonna drive me here?
Sure, happy to.
Thanks. Go to the next slide. So the city departments were requested to submit business plans with our budget requests, beginning with the fiscal year 25 budget. So this was the first time that departments had been asked to do this. And so we actually began working on this in 2023 as we submit the FY25 budget in January of 24. And we are being asked to update the business plans on a 3-year cycle, although we can and will make tweaks to it every year. And the business plans the intention is to align them with the city values, collaboration, creativity, accountability, and inclusion. Our adopted plans and the strategic business, it should align are linked with the city strategic business plan, even though there may be, as ours is more detailed, they won't always necessarily fit into the 5 focus area buckets, and that's okay. And we're told that that's okay all the time. But where we can, we point out where it does align with the city's strategic plan. So, the contents include a message from the director. We provide our organizational structure of the department, the divisions and the sections. We underwent an organizational assessment similar to what this board has done in the past, where we go through exercises that identify our strengths and opportunities. And the bulk of it is a multi-year operationalized plan. And so that's the part that I'm going to go through here with you tonight. The plan itself is over 30 pages, so it'll take us more than an hour if I were to go through all of that. But really, I think the part that you're most interested in and the part that will help you all as you put together your work plan is our multi-year operationalized plan. And I will say too, that it is a work in progress. One of the things that I think has led to so far this successful activation of the city strategic plan that was just adopted in February is that it is so much shorter than the previously adopted city strategic plan. There are, as you saw, 5 focus areas, just 3 objectives under each of the focus areas, and just 3 initiatives with each of the 3 objectives. So 45 actual lines in all. That is, the previous one was more than double that. It was unwieldy, and we never got to, a lot of the things that we wanted to accomplish. And there was just a lot of consolidation that could take place. And so that is going to be my goal with our business plan in the coming year. I think our business plan is way too long. Again, we started this in 2023, and I think I myself have learned a lot from the new city strategic plan and want to sort of model getting our business plan to that point as well. We have 9 objectives so far, and I think that we can shorten that up a bit.
I'm sorry, I have a question. How does this differ from the guiding principles and action plan?
Oh, from our comp plan? From the Parks, Recreation and Open, and so that's from our comp plan. So the comprehensive plan that the department hired a consultant to do that was adopted 2 years ago. That's typical, as you know, of any Parks and Rec agency, that a consultant comes in and does a comprehensive plan every year. And that certainly is a major blueprint for us. But separate from that, our department has a business plan, which really, as one of the previous slides says, it synthesizes our individual work plans. So for example, I have a work plan that I'm accountable for completing every year that my supervisor is going to evaluate me on. So what were the goals and objectives that I personally stated that I would do this year? Sally has one. She's accountable to me of letting me know, we put her work plan together, and then she makes progress on that throughout the year. So that's just more granular than what you're going to see in a comp plan. And the comp plan is also a 5 to 10 year plan, whereas this is, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to get done this year.
Okay, thank you.
So the first objective in the business plan is to maintain high quality vegetation in public areas, parks and open spaces, streets and city owned lots and alleys. And those are the initiatives under that objective. As an example, performing vegetative maintenance according to established service levels is making sure we're meeting our mowing rotations, our litter pickup rotations on the side of the road. We have a cross-departmental work team that's focused on an innovative and sustainable landscape initiative. Sally's a part of that. Our engineering department is a part of that. Our planning department is a part of that, where we're looking at, as we complete new public projects and as we receive private development plans and we're reviewing them, how do we create standards or modify existing standards to make that easier to maintain. Knowing that we have a finite level of resources and we're competing every year with other departments for additional general fund dollars, how do we create more sustainable landscape practices so that if we don't get additional money for additional crews to go out and mow the grass, what are other ways that we can keep the city looking good by creating sustainable and innovative landscapes? So that's what that's about.
One question about that. Do y'all work closely with the state DOT as well? Because one thing I've noticed is a lot of times they'll come in and they do a big project. It takes a long time. Then the vegetation is either, just sits there, it's not updated. Just like
Water.
Market Street, for example. Obviously, it's not totally in the city, not all of it, but wondering if y'all work together with them, as they're doing projects to make sure that they're, aligning with.
Yeah, so, yeah, two things on that. So that is in unincorporated city, New Hanover County. And so the state maintains that grass. The city council several years ago decided that they wanted to adopt a higher standard of mowing. So that is why the city is responsible for mowing and litter pickup on all the state owned and maintained facilities within city limits. So MLK, College, Carolina Beach, those are state-owned roads, not city-owned roads, but we mow them because we are mowing them at a higher rotation than NCDOT would. We do get reimbursed from NCDOT, the amount of money that they would spend on maintaining it. It doesn't cover our costs because we're mowing it more often. So that it's really outside of our control what they're doing on outside of the city limits. And again, they have a lower standard than the city. So the grass is going to grow taller before they mow it.
Yeah, my thought was, there's probably 20 different projects that are going to be within, Wilmington city limits that are planned.
Mhm.
I didn't know if we had any kind of, way to communicate with them to, beautify those projects after they're done. 'Cause a lot of times they do this great road and then, everything around it looks.
Yeah, so what the city does, so for the planned interchanges, the city council's desires for those to be landscaped, not concrete. And so that's called a betterment to the project. And so if the city is willing to pay for that, then they ask DOT to incorporate into the project, and then that is going to become ours to own, or to maintain. The second thing that you probably see a lot is private development that were required to make improvements to the public right of way. And those are often not turned over to the city until maybe 2-3 years after the project's complete. So good example of that is along Eastwood Road in front of by Autumn Hall and St. Mark's. And so while it's still under private control, their contractor's supposed to be maintaining it because it's under warranty, but we don't really have leverage other than to call them up and say, the grass is 5 feet tall, go mow it. So that's what happens there.
Thank you.
Yep. So making smart investments in personnel and equipment. A great example of that is, we're trying to relocate our parks maintenance facility down the River Road to a more modern facility, taking care of our personnel in terms of training. And then we always continually want to reassess our landscape operational plans to see if we can do things more effectively and efficiently.
I'm sorry, everybody else probably already knows this, but I have one other question. Are the Parks and Rec Department, maintaining all public areas in the city, or what happened to Public Works doing that?
For the city of Wilmington, we used to be consolidated with Public Works and Public Services. But even then, the division of parks is always the entity that maintained it. So
Not a park.
even if it's not a park, the only thing that Public Works does is stormwater.
Okay.
Everything else, city-owned alleys, streets, every agency is different, so which is why it's really hard to benchmark other agencies, even within the state, because everybody sort of does things a little bit differently. Some municipalities, they have Parks and Rec maintains cemeteries. There's municipally owned cemeteries. We don't fortunately have to do that, but yeah, we do everything but stormwater.
Richard King was pretty smart there.
I think that was even prior to Richard, because again, even when we were in public services, it was still parks that was doing it. So it's just the way it's always been here. It's not, I don't think it's the norm, but we're definitely not the only one.
Yeah.
Either.
I had a jurisdictional question about this, the way you're conversing about it. Masonboro Loop Road project, about the easement to create a bike lane.
Mhm.
That's in a private sector right now, contractors and stuff, or does the city have any role in that right now? or-
While it's under construction, it is under warranty and it is under the control of the contractor. So we wouldn't go in there. If we go in there and touch it, then it's ours and then the warranty's voided. So even though it may look like crap, we don't want to go in there until it's turned over to the city because we'll void the warranty.
Well, it's a long way from being completed, any kind of, side of, Masonboro Loop Road bike lane is a long way from being completed. There's easements afoot and all that stuff, but I guess that's what I'm asking. It's in the private road sector at this point.
Yeah, unless the easements have been turned over to the city, then they're still under the control of the private property owner. And then once the easements are turned over to the city while the project's still under construction, it's under the control of the contractor.
That's just my question. Thank you.
Mhm. And so objective number 2 is ensuring recreation and community centers are staffed to meet the community needs. A couple of things that we're doing right there is we recently completed an assessment of our volunteer recruitment and retainment practices, and we're converting that into a new volunteer guide. And we're also formalizing the roles of our various partners and collaborators and putting those into more formalized and consistent agreements, which is also a crossover from one of the recommendations in our comp plan. Lot of words on this one. Sorry, this is a big objective. Create sustainable parks and athletic facility infrastructure systems. The first initiative right there, complete a facilities condition assessment study, is underway. Can't recall if we've really overviewed that in one of these board meetings. That's really getting underway now, so we'll put that on a future agenda. Sally is the project director from the department working on that with Public Works. Public Works did this process for city-owned buildings a couple of years ago. And so we got some funding in the capital plan to do that for parks facilities this year. So what we'll come out with at the end of that study is as it says, an assessment of the conditions and a life cycle of it. And we'll know when we have to plan for improvements, replacement, repair for everything that we own when we're through with that. We're trying to align our athletic facilities, FTEs, and contracted workers with the demand for athletic field use. Unfortunately, this is often budget dependent, and we have, seen an increase in the use of our athletic facilities, and we'll do the best we can as budget allows to increase the number of FTEs there. Assessing school-used facilities such as Legion Stadium and Robert Strange Park for any future changes in use, site control and funding to assist the city with that, and assess the actual operational impact to the cost of delivery. We do get reimbursed by the schools for their use of the facilities, but it doesn't quite match the cost of delivery. And so we want to try to get there 100%. Developing a sports field maintenance plan. This again was a recommendation in the comp plan. And is in, I think, one of Sally's employees' work plans to complete that. And lastly, complete the irrigation system replacement at Muni, which was just done last month, really successful project, and to maintain over 60 rounds of golf at Muni in order to collect revenues enough to fund future CIP projects. We're currently at 67,000 rounds, which is unbelievable. So we're definitely meeting that goal. The fourth objective is to convert the Riverwalk from an amenity to an asset. And the first initiative is to support and implement the top recommendations from the Riverwalk assessment that the Convention and Visitors Bureau completed in 2023. Nicole briefly touched on this as part of the city's strategic plan as well. So things that are underway right now include a wayfinding and gateway improvement plan. There is a committee comprised of one of the deputy city managers, myself, the downtown specialist for the city, members of the CVB, WDI, and the convention center that meets regularly to stay on top of these recommendations. Another one that Nicole mentioned was further activation of the Riverwalk. I think that a great achievement in that so far was the enhanced holiday decorations that were implemented this past Christmas. Further activation of the Riverwalk is a plan that I, in my core focus group for this strategic business plan, have suggested giving to the objective teams to come up with a plan to increase activation of the Riverwalk. And then approving the aesthetics of the downtown docks and implementing a strategy for longevity of safe and functional docks. And a task under this is to ensure that we are achieving 20 hours worth of inspection each week of the Riverwalk and the docks. We've begun a monthly report to tell us if that's being done, which has been a great process improvement that Sally's team and our business analysts have implemented this year.
Quick question, do we have any city-owned public docks?
Yes, we do. So that's what that addresses. We used to have a docking program where we have a dock master and people could call them and reserve a spot. It declined dramatically once the Port City Marina was built in terms of use. They had vastly better amenities than the city had, and the tax dollars that were going to support that program were not really justified any longer. We had some safety and security issues too with people getting on people's boats after the bars let off at night. So that's why we no longer have that program. However, the long-term plan is to look at outsourcing that. Our deputy city manager is interested in looking at potentially housing that under the downtown specialist instead of Parks and Recreation. So that's a little bit on pause right now.
Where are those docks?
They are behind the Coastline Inn, the Ballast Hotel, and the foot of Market Street.
Wow, okay.
I can share a map with you guys, but we have free day docking. So anyone can come and dock all day long and enjoy downtown
Did not have that.
and then
Great to know.
go home at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, I want to say around 180 feet. Yeah, don't spend that around, I think around 180 feet of free public docking. And then the docks at the foot of Market Street, the city has agreements with the water taxi and
Okay.
soon to be Tiki boat that takes off from there.
Oh, wow. Awesome, thank you.
So implement a strategy, in other words, privatize, or are you looking at?
Outsource.
Outsource,
Yeah,
yeah,
not give up ownership.
Right.
But have say.
contractor.
Exactly, yeah. The town of Beaufort, in the past year,
They did. that.
transitioned from city owned to outsourcing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a copy of their RFP. I mean, we could look at doing it. It's just our deputy city manager wants to assess who that best should belong to oversee that contract. Objective 5 is all about our urban forest. And so the objectives there: complete a public tree inventory in stages. That is really step one in operationalizing our urban forestry management plan. With the plan, we do have the 1945 city limits done, but we're really anxious to complete that. We had applied for a grant this year, didn't happen, but we're actively looking at other ways to fund that. We have vastly improved our backlog and removing dangerous trees from public areas. So that's something that we're really proud of. We're also now including when we have contracted tree removals to immediately grind the stumps as well, so people aren't reminded that there used to be a glorious tree there, because while we do our best at replanting with new trees, you guys have probably seen we have a really robust new tree planting contract taking place throughout the city right now. But so that happens once or twice a year, so it's not, it doesn't fall immediately in line behind tree removal. So grinding those stumps is a great process improvement. And then,
Sound like a tree hunter, but what is the general way a tree becomes dangerous?
so we have our certified arborists and assistant arborists that are both have credentials in tree assessment. And so either through our own observation or somebody calling in a request to the city to come look at a tree that might be dangerous, we'll conduct an assessment on that. So if it has large dead limbs or through various other assessments, we're able to, diseased, dying or dead trees that are on city property, and we have an obligation to remove those in a reasonable manner so that they don't become a safety risk.
Got it.
Our partnership with the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees is becoming very robust. And we are currently in the midst of drafting an MOU with them on the volunteer program where they recruit people to help take care of our younger trees, to allow the city to focus on the more specialized maintenance of the trees. So that relationship is healthier than it's ever been. And then dedicating city staff to support urban forest operations and education. Great example of that is I just mentioned our arborists and assistant arborists. Those used to go by different titles, and we think it's important to our own internal departments in the public that they know that they go by those names, so that they know that we have those qualified and trained, technically oriented people on staff. Our, of course, Greenfield Lake Master Plan that was recently adopted, completed the first objective there that has been adopted by City Council. Another grant that we applied for that was actually paused by the state. So they're not awarding any grants right now for what we applied for. However, and this, was a big recommendation in the study because it satisfied a few different objectives. It helps make the park safer and helps to restore the park to what it originally looked like, which had more clear watershed views. Something that's near and dear to Councilman Rivenbark's heart, and probably Ingrid's involvement with the Azalea Committee and the Cape Fear Gardens Club. So fortunately, with some recently acquired equipment that our maintenance staff received last year, we've been able to do a lot of work internally ourselves. So we're putting together some before and after pictures on that so people can see the progress that we've made there. A big one for us, we want to try to secure funding to install security cameras to help make the park safer. And ultimately, what we'd really love to do is to find a nonprofit that wants to have their headquarters at Greenfield Lake as a strategy to, again, help make the park feel more safer and secure. Knock on wood, we think having Live Nation as a tenant in Riverfront Park has helped to, in the 4.5 years that that's been open now, to make that a really safe and secure park. There was a lot of worry that we were going to see some issues there after we opened, and again, knock on wood, so far we haven't, and I think that's a big reason why we'd like to replicate that at Greenfield. As I mentioned, we want to make this plan more concise and consolidated in the future, and one of the things that I'm going to be looking at is this is really a catch-all objective, and how can we maybe farm out these initiatives, which are important, into some of the other objectives. But we want to be a model department in the area of fiscal responsibility, economic development, contributing to the local economy, and creating a sense of community belonging. Initiative 7.0, we have, with your help, drafted a cost recovery policy that y'all approved at your March meeting. We presented that to City Council at their March 28th budget work session, and it was really well received. So that will be recommended for adoption along with the budget in June. We've also completed a utility audit, just looking at all of our irrigation and our electric accounts, for example, which for Kim, how many accounts do you have to pay each month?
181.
Wow. We have tried working with Duke to
Wow.
give us a master contract and so far have not been able to do that, but I've gotten Deputy City Manager Tom Moten's attention on that, because we had a really ugly discovery this past month when they had to backbill us for a meter that hadn't been running. So anyway, we've completed the audit, but we really want to try for some efficiency improvements in that area. And improving the physical conditions of parks to be more welcoming. Again, one of the tasks under that is security cameras. So that's sort of one of those cross initiatives that we could look to consolidate into another objective. Contribute to Wilmington's economic development. One of the tasks there is to complete a study of Live Oak Pavilion and the Greenfield Amphitheater, which is a cross strategy with the city's strategic plan, and that's been complete. WDI did that for us. We have the draft study, and we're supposed to receive the final study any day now, really. Create opportunities for employee development and growth. Again, a lot of professional development and training, which also crosses over into some of our other objectives. But an example there is sending at least 2 people to management maintenance school each year. Something I'm really proud of, that was something that Sally has really brought to the department. And we had 2 employees that actually won a challenge this year, and that's among how many people?
We had 200 people from across the country in the Parks and Recreation profession. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
we're really, really proud of them.
We'll have to focus that maybe in an upcoming board
Yeah, that'd be
meeting as well. Big one, 7.5 is becoming accredited. We're going to be undergoing a self-accreditation of the National Recreation and Park Association. We've begun work on this. Is something that's been in my work plan for multiple years now. We haven't just been able to get any traction on. Now that we have our budget and business analyst position that started over 6 months ago now, we're really trying to ramp that up now that we're through the budget process. So we've actually had a lot of meetings on that in the past last week or so. So we're excited to move forward with that. And improving technology within Parks and Recreation. We have a draft RFP to change out our management software at Muni. We utilize RecTrack for everything in recreation. It's just not exactly tailored to golf, and with as many rounds as we do out there yearly, we just need something more user-friendly. And we had talked about maybe doing an RFP to change RecTrack throughout recreation. That's a bit on hold right now while we focus on priorities like the accreditation process. And we also had an upgrade to RecTrack in the past year, which has improved functionality greatly. Objective 8, maintain high quality programs, facilities, and service. So this is really more focused on recreation and less on parks. And one of the initiatives there is to continually assess how we're evaluating our programs for changes and improvements there. And again, I spoke already about the strategies to recruit and retain volunteers. And lastly, just improve our communication efforts, both internally and externally. If anybody was used to going on the city's website before the revamp that happened this past year and go on it now, it is night and day different. And so that's been an improvement. Our city's corporate affairs is recently rolled out something called CityNet, which replaces the intranet for city employees across all departments. That's been an improvement, but also just improving our communication to our employees in terms of how we're meeting with them, how we're recognizing them, and rewarding their accomplishments. So I think that we've seen a lot of improvement there, but we'll continually massage that for advancement as well. And so that was our business plan on steroids.
Good job, though.
But we'll make sure that you guys, have a copy of this as it, will help you again to inform your work plans.
Fiscal year plan or an annual year plan?
It's 3 years, but we're able to make changes to it annually.
Mhm.
And again, I'm just gonna take a page out of the strategic business plan on how they whittled that down from what, it was a monster, the last adopted city
Mhm.
plan. And I just think the way they developed it this time was so much smarter and relatable and achievable. And I just think, we have a lot of great objectives and initiatives and tasks in this. But we also have some that just don't make sense and can be removed. So I think that's goal of mine.
More
is
ongoing.
Before the next, yeah. So thank you for allowing me to
Well, thank you.
speed through that.
I had a question about a couple of years ago, and I know Ingrid was involved as well as myself. This committee toured the pools of the city. And the Legion Stadium pool was bad shape. I see it's open. Is that true? It had a big crack and this, that. Was that all repaired? Yeah.
Yeah, that was repaired. So the pools are all, can't do this math. Also was made, but close, because they were all built in the
Yeah.
late 70s, early 80s. So they've never been replaced. So they're always in need of repair. They were painted this year. And that's not something that happens annually. That is something that is a capital project. And so we devoted some of our parks maintenance capital money to that this year.
So they were repaired.
Yeah, they've never closed longer than, briefly a day or two to make repairs.
We toured them, they were drained and we could see the
Yeah.
cracks, but this was off season. It's not.
Yeah, the north side pool has cracks as well. We actually spent some money on a study of the north side pool a few years ago because the water table's really high there. And so we wanted to make sure as we invest in repairs there, that it was making sense. In terms of investment, or if we were going to continually have to make the same repairs over and over again. And so that was a positive study. The other improvement that's happening this year is, I don't know if you remember, but all 3 fences were enclosed by chain link with barbed wire on the top,
Oh,
which was really uninviting. And that was based on an old interpretation that it was a requirement from the health department, and it's not. And so the north side pool fence was replaced earlier this year. And Robert Strange and Legion are scheduled to be replaced in the next month or so with a decorative black powder coated aluminum fence.
now the Y does the north side pool, doesn't it? Don't they?
The YMCA, so all 3 pools are outsourced.
Okay.
The YMCA operates Legion and Robert Strange, and an organization called NC Swim does the north side pool.
Are there any plans to increase the number of pools? No.
Thank goodness, right?
Pain, huh?
They are costly. Someone was just telling me the other day, it was Greensboro, when they made improvements to their convention center, they also made an indoor aquatic facility. And they're struggling with how to pay for ongoing operations and maintenance, and they're gonna have to introduce a new revenue source to do that. So yeah, they never, and as you know, cost recovery is something that we're trying to increase, and you're never gonna recover costs with aquatic facilities.
I remember at one time we had talked about an aquatics facility too.
An indoor
Yeah.
aquatics facility. Yeah, it was part of the
NC Swim.
2006 parks
Okay.
There was some seed money allocated, and because there was a private group that had indicated they wanted to come together and plan for something, and it never materialized, but NC Swim does have a covered pool. So Northside Pool is covered and is operated 10 months out of the year.
Okay, yeah. Nanonatorium or something with some dream.
Yeah, natatorium, yeah,
Yeah.
which is really, that's an indoor pool that also has like a diving well and the stadium seats and all that.
Judge's podium.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas an indoor pool is just, it's your regular pool, but it's covered. Now, the YMCA Midtown is in the process of a fundraising campaign, and they have requested funding from the city and the county to expand the Y on George Anderson and 17th Street. And they do have plans for an indoor pool out there.
Oh, okay.
I think that's like a 5-year plan or something like that in order to raise enough money.
Any more questions about the business plan?
You.
Thank you so
Zach?
much, Amy. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
Moving on to the next, oh, sorry.
I was gonna suggest that we wait until the next meeting to dive back into the annual work plan workshop.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Is that something we have to vote on, or are we just kind of good to push and move forward?
I think we can just move forward. Really, the next activity is gonna be going through a group activity for challenges and opportunities for the board. And I think that group work is gonna take at least 30 minutes.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and respectfully move past that opportunity. Is there any new business from those in attendance? Hearing none, and knowing that Ron is not with us, we'll skip the committee reports. Knowing that Terry is not with us and I can't just make things up, we'll skip the chair's report. Anything of note from our staff report, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone to look through our monthly blasts to see all of the incredible spring and summer programming that our staff is putting on. It's really amazing what they do every year to serve the public and to support our communities through the summer. So take a look at that. We've also got a flyer here on the table for Active Adult Health and Wellness Fair at Maids Park coming up. There's some really cool activities there. So I just encourage you to take advantage and then share those opportunities with your networks and get the word out so that people can visit our parks and benefit from them. That's all I've got, Zach. Do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. We're done.
All right, thank you so much. Anything from the board members in attendance from our roundtable? All right, hearing nothing, I will enter one thing. I appreciate everyone's focus and the energy and effort tonight, and the opportunity provided by Amy and Sally for me to step into Terry's loafers and do this for a little bit. And with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Zach. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love
Motion to adjourn?
Alexis.
Seconds, anyone?
I'll second.
All right, well, all approved, say aye. All right, all right, everybody, log off, clock out, and let's go to the house. Y'all have a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.